Welcome to We Mean Business. I'm Steve Dorfman here with Tony Marchanti. The power of transparent marketing and the myth of the secret sauce. That's what we're talking about today. We're here with Marcus Sheridan. Marcus started a swimming pool company in 2001, and he has grown to one of the largest companies of its kind in the world, and he attributes his success in large part to his efforts in inbound marketing and his incredibly popular swimming pool blog. Marcus, welcome to the show.
Thank you. My pleasure, gents.
We're talking about inbound marketing, so first a quick definition. What are we talking about with inbound?
I always use the cheesy definitions, right, so people understand it very easily. But, if you think about inbound marketing, it's kind of like there's two guys. Think back to middle school. You go to the dances, right? Generally speaking, there's two guys at the dance, right? There's the guy that goes up to all the girls, keeps tapping them on the shoulders, and they are so freaked out by him that they kind of huddle up and protect themselves.
I think that was Tony.
Yes, that was, of course, that was Tony, my man. But he's recovering. He's recovering, right? So in other words, they just can't get a dance. And the girls, of course, run to the bathroom and do whatever. Because on the prowl all the time, right? And then there's the guy at every dance who seems to have the ladies around him, and he can pick and choose who he wants to dance with. And the moral of the story is, if you can pick and choose who you dance with, you're going to be happy in business. And that's the idea behind inbound and content marketing, because they really go together, is putting out such great information that you become that guy, that Google loves you because you're the best teacher at what you do, and that the consumer loves you as well, because when they see you and they see your work, your body of work, your website, your information, all your content, all these things, they say, this is somebody that I can trust and that I want to do business with. And so that's the essence of really what inbound marketing is. It's attracting them to you versus throwing yourself in front of them, especially through the old outbound techniques like radio, print, a lot of these shotgun-style marketing that we've seen is not very effective, or otherwise known as interruptive marketing, because I'm trying to interrupt you and say, stop what you're doing, listen to my ad for a second. It's so much better if you're coming to me because you're actually looking for something. You have a problem, I have a solution, and I just happen to teach you about that solution to that problem better than anybody else.
All right, so I take it blogging is one of those ways to position yourself as that expert, provide great content, and then have those people come to you, right?
Yeah, the thing about it is you got to look at it, because when we hear the word blog, and I have fun with this word, sometimes I don't have fun with it because it's not a true... The feel is not very romantic, right? You think blog, it's just not. It comes from the phrase web log, and it started as personal journals online. Really, a blog today is the best definition today, in today's marketing world, it's a way to format information. A blog, essentially, is the educational center for your website, for your company.
Oh, I like that.
All right,
and the educational center for your website.
That. Yeah, and the problem with it is most companies don't see it that way. They see a blog as a brag. It's not a brag.
Push marketing in a different form.
That's right. It's, in other words, you have a site, Tony. You're not sitting there yapping off on your blog how you're so dang awesome.
Right.
They will figure that out. It's assumed because you're a great teacher. And so the way to start a blog, or to do content marketing, but a blog is part of content marketing, because content is a whole, and a blog is just one means to deliver that information. I tell this to every single person. Every company, nobody's the exception to the rule, because oftentimes we hear good stuff and we think we're the exception because we're a B2B company, we're a B2C company, we're local, we're national, we're big, we're small, we're all these things. We constantly think. You can't think you're the exception. If you want to be great at a blog, what you do is... the quickest method is you take every person in your company that's ever answered a question from a consumer. Okay? I don't care if they're in service, I don't care if they're in sales, I don't care if they're in shipping, engineering, doesn't make a difference, right? You get everybody in a room if you can, and you have a couple of scribes, and you say, what are the questions that you get every single day? In complete sentence form, right? So the question might be, in the case of swimming pools, how much does a fiberglass pool cost? Because that's what my pool company, which I still own, even though I'm a marketing guy now, I still own the pool company. So how much does a fiberglass pool cost? What you do is you brainstorm all those, you write those questions down, and you come up with at least 50. If you can't come up with 50 questions, wow. Dude, it's easy. Seriously, Steve, if you can't come up with 50 questions in 30 minutes or less, you're being totally mentally lazy. I have done this with big companies and small companies. I've never come up with less than 100 leading the group. Never come up with less than 100 in 30 minutes. Okay? So think about it for a second. You take those 100 questions, you turn them into 100 titles of your first 100 blog posts. If you write 2 blog posts or educational articles, look at it like that, a week, with those questions as the title, if you have 100, that's essentially 2 blog posts for the rest of the year. For 1 full year.
Now, does this work better for product providers than it does for service providers, or
the principles are the same? You have to look at it like this. Marketing involves people spending money. When people spend money, they have questions about how they're going to spend their money. Concerns, all these deals going on, right? You don't want to make a mistake. You want to be sure of yourself. And in the information age, you have been taught, without you even realizing it, me too, that you can go online, and if you can't find the answer somewhere, what do? You immediately bounce off that website, and you go to another website, because you've been taught that you can find the answers online every single time.
Right.
So he who is the best teacher gets the reward. He's the king of the hill when it comes to marketing, and Google rewards that person. It used to be that when we searched online, we were really like general. So we might type in pools or swimming pools. But today, the consumer is smart. They know specificity leads to better search engine results, especially from Google. So that's why you don't type in pools anymore. You say concrete or fiberglass pools, which is better? That's the type of search we do today. Right? And so if you are literally answering that question...
You guys should write a blog on that.
Yes, we do. We've got quite a few. And if you type that search phrase in, of course, we're going to be #1 on Google in the entire world. And, that's where we are. For my swimming pool site, because we were the first ones to literally make it a swimming pool Wikipedia, which I believe should be the goal of every website, is to make it the Wikipedia of your niche, your industry. If you do that, Google will look at you and say, they are giving the most specific answers to all these specific phrases that consumers, you, me, everybody else, are typing in Google search now. And because of that, Google's saying reward, reward, reward with good search engine rankings. And then once the person's there, they're thinking, gosh, these guys are... Finally, somebody's answering my questions, and then everybody's happy.
You talk about thinking like a consumer.
Yeah.
So real quick, what's that mean?
Well, it goes back to those questions. Like, give you an example. In business, we do really stupid things because we're in the business, so we suffer from the curse of knowledge, right? So we think the whole world understands our vernacular. Like, y'all understand video vernacular. You have acronyms that you probably use that I have no idea. You have equipment that you use that none of us really know what it is. Well, we do the same thing in business. It's just really, really crazy. We do it all the time. And so we naturally assume that somebody, for example, might know the difference. I'm just going to use pools again because it's an easy one. Okay, might know the difference between a fiberglass pool and a concrete pool. Man, people don't know the difference between that.
Right.
It's not like we grow up practicing buying pools. We don't do that. Or just give you another example. Let's say you're thinking about buying a Ford Mustang. If you're buying a Ford Mustang, it probably means you want an American sports car that looks cool. Probably. It could be that case, right? And so there's a good chance that you're comparing that against something else. It's a good chance you're probably thinking about a Chevy Camaro as well, right? So if you're doing that, knowing that many consumers are in that boat, trying to choose between a Mustang and a Camaro, if somebody's smart in Ford or Chevrolet, they're going to own that keyword phrase because they're going to write about it. They're going to say, what's the difference between a 2012 Ford Mustang versus a 2012 Chevy Camaro? And they're really going to break them down both so that the consumer can say, okay, here's the definitive differences between each one. That's education-based marketing, and that's thinking like a consumer. The problem is we don't think like consumers. Here's the jux of it all. If somebody's ever asked you the question, in sales, marketing, wherever, it should be a title of a blog post. Period.
I love it. All right. So tell us about secret sauce.
Secret sauce, man. I love secret sauce. I love talking about it because so many businesses, when they look, the reason why they're afraid of social media and producing content that answers all these questions is because they think they have a secret sauce. And I always like to say, we ain't got secret sauce because everybody knows it's Thousand Island dressing, right? And that's what it is. That's what it is. There is no secret sauce.
Myth has been debunked.
That's right. It's been debunked.
First here.
We think we're a Coke. We think we're Colonel Sanders with a chicken recipe. We're not.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when it comes to pricing. Okay, we'll talk about pricing for a second. In the swimming pool industry, no one had ever talked about how much pools cost on websites. Why do you think that was?
Because the salesman's going to come out and give you the hakey shaky.
Yeah,
that's right.
If you just get the
pitch.
price,
That's right. You want the sales pitch. You're worried that they won't. You're worried they won't contact you because it might be too high.
Yeah, they'll just have the guy down the street beat that price.
You're worried the
Right.
competitor will find out. This is the types of thing business owners think, which is nuts. Because if you guys go on a website and you're looking for a pool, and you can't find anything about pricing, but you really want to know how much it
Yeah.
costs, what are you going to do, Tony?
Call them, hopefully.
You're gone, dude.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
You're going to
gone,
go to
yeah.
another website.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
other words, if you don't have that information there as a business owner, you're inviting them to go
Disappear.
to the competitor and join their sales funnel instead. Start the process of going down that funnel instead of yours. I think that's ballistic. Imagine this for a second. Go back to the auto analogy. Let's say there's two Ford dealers right together across the street from each other. Consumer walks in and says, I'm thinking about the Ford Mustang. Can you tell me how much it costs before we get into all the gibberish? And the salesperson says, I can't tell you that, but I can answer any other question that you want. But the guy across the street, he has that answer for you, and he has it right away. And of course, the consumer says, dude, I'm not hanging out here. He goes across the street. The first question he asks is, okay, man, how much is the Mustang? And the salesperson says, well, it's going to range between here and here depending on the options that you want. Now, how about we talk about it? Now the consumer says, finally, somebody cares about answering my questions. But what most business owners are is they're like the kindergarten teacher who sees little Johnny raising his hand but never calls on him. How's Johnny feel? Not very happy. He feels rejected. And he wants another teacher, right? And you have to look at marketing online, blogging, content marketing, inbound marketing. Like you are a kindergarten teacher. Your only goal is communion between you and the audience. It's not about you, because kindergarten teachers, think about it. It ain't about them.
Right.
They don't get the reward.
That's right.
It's not about being a college professor where you hear yourself talk for an hour. It's about the student.
I want to ask about price for a minute because I had a recent experience. There's this plumbing company that's advertising a lot around town all of a sudden. And so I thought, well, let me call these guys. I need a faucet replaced at my rental properties. So I call and I said, can you give me an idea what it's going to cost to just replace a bathroom faucet? Wouldn't give me a straight answer. I must have spent 5 or 10 minutes on the phone, and I asked every which way I could, and just never got a straight. It wouldn't give me an answer. It just give me a range. It could cost anywhere between this much and nothing. We'll have somebody come out and meet you there. I'm like, you know what? It's not convenient for me. It's half an hour from home. That means I have to make an extra trip just to meet somebody. Just give me an idea of what's, because I just want to know, should I do it myself? Should I have a friend help me out, or should I hire a professional?
How complicated can it get, right?
And Marcus, you say that everybody should publish their prices on their websites. Does it apply to everybody?
Yes, it does. And people say to me, well, I'm a service-based business. It ranges. Well, I sell pools. They range from $20,000 to $200,000. Okay, and I have been very successful. On that one article, and the viewers might not believe this. This is true. I have so many stats I could show that obviously I can't right now. Because I show up for the first, number one on Google for the phrases fiberglass pool cost, fiberglass pool prices, how much does a fiberglass pool cost, anything has to do with, because I wrote the first article on it and Google gave us the reward. Because of the visitors we've gotten from that article, and of course the analytics I use, I can track them. Okay, so I can see if somebody fills out a form on my site, I can track them back to a blog article. And so therefore I can measure the true return on investment, the true ROI of that article. On that one article alone that I wrote about pricing, I've made over $1 million in sales. $1 million in sales from customers that came by typing in a cost-related pool phrase.
Wow.
Think about that. And I'm a local business. In Virginia, Maryland's the only places we do pools. Now, of course, I have a marketing company that's worldwide. This stuff applies to every client that I have. I haven't found a client, and people so want to think, like I said, that's why I started this off with exceptions to principles. The principle here is We need to be great teachers and can't ignore customers. Otherwise, we irk their nerves just as yours were irked, Steve.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example. You were frustrated, very much so, because this guy was just jerking you around. You cannot do that today. That worked 10 years ago before this thing called the information age.
Right.
Now, you know there is somebody out there that's going to be transparent. That's the concept of transparent marketing. It's the opposite of ostrich marketing, which is bury head in sand and pretend that the consumer isn't asking this question. Dude, if they're asking it, you got to be answering it. It's a very simple concept. If not, they're gone. They're in another funnel, and they're a lead of somebody else. To me, that's appalling.
Got it.
As a business owner in a tough economy.
You also say that you've got to have opinions. We've got to take a break. So when we come back, I want to ask you about that. You're watching We Mean Business. We'll be back in seconds.
My name's Reggie. Just recently, my wife and I took in her sister's children. And we already had 4, so I went from becoming a family man to a man with a bigger family. Now, you can't eat love, so I don't know how I'm going to feed them tonight. How was that, Rich?
I think I look more like Denzel.
That's cold, man.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
Welcome back to We Mean Business. I'm Steve Dorfman here with Tony Marchionte, and today's special guest is Marcus Sheridan, the sales lion. And we're talking about the power of transparent marketing and the myth of the secret sauce. And so I wanted to know, Marcus, because you say that we've got to have opinions, and how does that apply to what we're talking about here?
All right. There's a problem that we have when it comes to online marketing and to websites in general. Just like when you watch a movie. When you watch a movie, you want to be moved in some way. You're okay if you cry, if you laugh, but you want to be moved in some way, right? You want to be taken somewhere. It's the same thing with information and with content.
I've never actually thought about that, so that's an interesting thing to sort of notice, is that sometimes we don't know ourselves as well as we think we do, but of course that's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we want to be moved and we want to be pushed in the sense of, when it comes to content, we want to be forced to take a stand or make an opinion on something. So the worst thing you can do when you write about your stuff is to live in the world of gray. Because consumers, readers, viewers, they want black and white. They want you to have a strong opinion about stuff because they want to be moved. They might not know it, but they want to be moved. Mm-hmm. And so my point is, you have to be able to take a stand. Let me give you one quick example. There's so many I could give you, but it goes on and on and on. One of the first things I teach clients is, look, you have competitors in your industry, especially when it comes to products. Right? Let's just compare again just the easy ones. You have the Ford Mustang and the Chevy Camaro. If you are let's say you're a Chevrolet dealer, you're always being asked, well, how does this car compare to the Ford whatever it is, the similar model? If I'm a Chevrolet dealer, the first thing I'm going to do is write a post comparing every applicable model and really give my opinion. Here's the reason why the Camaro is a great car and potentially a good option versus the Mustang. Now, you don't want to be over the top, but you want to be honest. Look, the warranty is this, theirs is this. The size of the tires is this, size of their tires is that. Okay? And so if you break it down like that, all of a sudden you have a very, very good comparison. That's having an opinion, and it's not afraid to talk about the competitor. Because you can't be afraid. If your salespeople are being asked the question, you need to be willing to answer it. This applies to everything. If you sell stuff and it has a competition in its field, and almost everybody that sells stuff does, I don't care if it's a service or a product, then you need to be comparing those things. What if you're a Chevy dealer and you wrote an ebook that's 30 pages, you took all your blog articles of comparisons, charts, all that stuff, and you had this, and you knew somebody was coming into your shop. What if you emailed that ebook for free to your consumer, your prospect, before they came into the shop and said, this is going to answer every comparative question you have if you're thinking about a Ford as well. And then all of a sudden, they come into the shop. Where are they now in the buying process versus the normal prospect that comes through the doors? They're further down the funnel. And the whole idea, content is the greatest sales tool in the world. It's better than you and I. Because content can sell in the night when we're asleep. It can reach millions all over the world. You and I, we're just one person. Sometimes we think we're awesome, and we might be good, but we're not that good. And so we have to produce the content to do the work for us. But if we do it right, when it comes to that sales funnel, and you get so many up at the top, and you get customers pop out, the idea behind great content is that literally by the time they get to you because of your content, their feet are hanging out the bottom of the funnel, and all you have to do is just pull.
What a visual.
Love it. Love it.
Just a little bit. And it happens all the time. In the pool industry, before we did our thing, you never sold fast. In other words, you didn't get the trust. I mean, the reason why sales go fast is because people trust you fast. That's just how it works. Well, in the pool industry, you go out to the person's house, like Tony, you call me and say, hey, Marcus, come out, and I come out and give you a quote, and you're like, I need to get a couple more quotes, and then you might have me come back a couple more times. It's a long process. All the time, we reach agreements on the phone with people for $50,000 pools before we've ever gone out to the house.
Wow.
Because they have watched all of our videos, because they've read all of our articles, they don't have any more questions. They're just so well informed, and they think these guys care about me because we do.
They get it
Because we do, and they get it.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of content.
I feel like this is like a revelation. Like Marcus has taken everything that we've all sort of come to know in the way business is done for the last 50, 100 years, and just flipped it on its head. And this is the new way that business is done. People just aren't catching up as quickly as they probably should.
They're still stuck, man. They're still stuck behind. If I go into a group of like 200 people, I'm speaking to 200 business owners, and I say, how many of you talk extensively about cost and price on your website? Guess what the percentage is of 200 people?
1%?
Right.
1 to 2% every single time.
Yeah.
Yet, you ask those same people, how many of you look for a price and cost? At least ranges.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer the question. You got to address it.
Yeah.
Look, I can't give you an exact number because here's the reason why. But you got to address the question. If you can't give a specific, you got to give the reasons why. And then you might say, here's a general range, 50 to 100,000.
Yeah.
And then we could talk on the phone. But don't ignore the question. You don't ignore it.
Right.
We are all hypocrites when it comes to marketing. We want it one way, but we don't want to give it the same way.
Got it.
It's messed up.
I think people are also nervous about like your whole comparison of Ford and Chevy. It's a better sale if you can say, well, look, it's not perfect in this area, but these are the things it does really well compared to, you know what I mean?
Tony, I'm so glad you bring that up, man. Let's say you're thinking about a fiberglass pool, but you get a quote from a concrete pool guy. Concrete pool guy obviously is going to tell you nothing but negative things about fiberglass pools. In fact, he's going to say, oh, you don't want a fiberglass pool, it's got this problem, it's got that problem, it's got that problem. You're going to get freaked out. And naturally, what you're going to do, because you're debating now, which is better, you're going to go to the internet, Google, and Google we trust, all right? The source of all light, truth, and knowledge. We tell Google everything that we wouldn't even tell our preachers, our spouses, anybody. Because that's where we are as a society. You go to Google and you just type in fiberglass pool problems. That's what you would type in because you're worried. I wrote an article entitled Top 5 Fiberglass Pool Problems and Solutions. Okay, our business did.
Yeah.
We show up, of course, number 1 for the phrase fiberglass pool problems. That one article so far has made us over $400,000 in sales. Other than the keyword river pools and spas, it's the number 1 lead generating keyword phrase we have on our site.
Wow.
Think about that. And on there, we tell the people, look, fiberglass might not be for you. Why? Because it might be too skinny. It might not be deep enough. 16 by 40 is about as big as we can go. But if you're looking for something that's low maintenance, that'll last forever, that's not a lot of work and looks great, it's a great choice. You see what I'm saying? You can't be the ostrich with your head in the sand.
Right.
And now, people don't tell me anymore, so is this true what the concrete guy was saying about you? I have people tell me, I read that article, and then the concrete guy came in here and started telling me stuff, and I told him just to, don't even bring it. It's hilarious. I have had people tell a salesperson to leave their home because they knew the salesperson was being dishonest with them. When we started this, our website was 20 pages. Today it's 750 pages.
Wow.
Okay? I have people literally, before I come to the house, that have read 300 and 400 pages of the website. I never would have known that had I not produced the content. Same thing with the sales line, right? I have people that read my articles. I have something like 300 marketing articles on there. I have leads that come in, companies. Somebody in Africa that's read 200 of those articles. They're serious. They're ready to buy something.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of this comes down to being committed to your brand. And how do you see your business brand? You're talking about content creation and being online, creating all this great content. How does that play? I mean, do we have to live our companies now? Is that the idea we're in? Is that the age we're in?
This is what I see, man. I don't see social media as a tool. I see social media as a culture. In other words, you ain't on Facebook because everybody's doing it. You're on Facebook as a company because you communicate with your customers and you care about them. Do you see the difference? If somebody asks an employee of your company, why are you on Facebook, why are you on Twitter? And I don't think everybody should be on every platform. But it's the same thing with blogging, okay? With swimming pools, it's not a very social industry. In other words, people don't share very much that they just bought a $50,000 swimming pool on Facebook. They don't do that. But they research the heck out of the product beforehand, so that's why a blog, content, in general, video, text, is our main choice. But it's our culture. The moment we stopped saying we're a pool building company and started saying we are the best teachers of swimming pools in the world, that's who we are, everything changed as a business. Everything changed.
That's amazing. What about all the inbound marketing? And we saw on your site that you're part of HubSpot and you represent that. Can you tell us a little bit about how all that
Well, I mean,
came together for you?
People. Okay, I told you today that I've made $1 million on one article in sales, $400,000 another. That's because with HubSpot, that is it's a lead tracking system. So you come on the site, you read my stuff, you fill out a form. Now I can say, okay, Tony came onto the site at 8:53 this morning. The first page, he typed in this phrase, and he landed on this blog article. And then he went and read this, and this page. In fact, he's read 25 pages now on the site, and then he filled out this form. I can see that Tony's pretty serious. Or I could see that Tony came onto the site, went to 3 pages, and quickly filled out a form. Tony, not quite serious yet. I got to get him more serious. In other words, you need to read more content, and I'm going to help you do that to help you get further down that funnel. Do you see what I'm saying?
Totally.
HubSpot allows me to do that. It's one of many. To me, it's the ultimate all-in-one system when it comes to analytics, social media, all these things. I don't have time to talk about it, but if anybody wants to know about HubSpot, I started with them with my pool company, and I became so good at using them that now I'm what's called a partner, and so I have other clients that use HubSpot, which helps measure that return on investment, because the deal is this. I don't want to do anything without being able to measure it, right? There's this myth that social media does not have an ROI. That's baloney. You can measure this stuff. And so if you're going to spend $30,000 doing this or that campaign, we should know the returns. Otherwise, we shouldn't be doing it, in my opinion.
Marcus, in the minute that remains, or 30 seconds.
Too much more to talk about.
Yeah, I know. Tell us what predictions you have for 2013, because you've turned so much on its head for, I know, a lot of our viewers out there.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to inbound marketing and social media and blogging and all this, what are your predictions for 2013 and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, here's a couple things. Number one, platforms will always change, principles will not. Twitter and Facebook are here today. They might not be here tomorrow. We don't know that. But the principle of how we communicate on Twitter and Facebook will not change. Okay? Content in general is not new. Content marketing is not new. If you really look at it, the Bible is great content marketing. That's really what it is. The Declaration of Independence. It's really great content marketing. Somebody put words on a paper. They took a stand. They put their big fat signature right under it and said, this is how we roll. This is how we feel. And it created a movement, right? I did this in the pool industry. Now I've done it in the marketing industry. And I go around teaching everybody that transparency is going to be king going forward because we lack it in our society. Certainly from top down, locally, in Washington and down. We have to be transparent marketers. And so I think the greatest teachers will be the greatest businesses going forward.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
So you've been watching We Mean Business. To learn more about Marcus Sheridan, the sales lion, and all of his great content, you can go to wemeanbiz.tv. For Tony Marchionte and myself, Steve Dorfman, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.